Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast with your host, Raghu, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show. This is episode 1425, sitting here at the farm with Miss Mara, spinning the dials. I don't know what that means. I don't even know where I got that from. Is that a real phrase, spinning the dials? There are no dials.
I think so.
There's not one dial on my desktop here. Like maybe it came from like spinning the turntables,
The wheels
or
of
something
steel?
like that. I don't know what spinning the dials is, but it sounds like okay, she's doing something.
Sounds like
She's making
someone's-
stuff go.
an engineer in the background pulling it all together.
Yeah, I guess there were dials in
Yeah.
old days. Even DJs, like now they have. Ever see DJs with like CDs? I was like, what are you doing with those CDs? That's not. That's nothing. You can't do anything with those.
Now they just show up with a laptop, I think.
I know. And just
You
like
know?
press a button.
Yeah.
Big deal. I could be a DJ. I should be a DJ. I can press go or the space bar. No, Tom Esty goes, Tom's, no, you can't. No, you Raghu, I've seen you. You can't press buttons. You know, I went to a thrift shop yesterday with my daughter, she wanted me to get her this table. I was like, she didn't even understand.
What
that
did
the
you want to
needle
get?
Has to, she wanted to get a record player that plays vinyl records.
Okay.
And there was a record on it, like a 45, and she was trying to put the needle on the rubber pad. I was like, no, you got to put it on the actual. They don't get it, and it was
Yeah.
making all this noise. Like, I was like, yeah, this is no good. She's like, well, that's the noise like records make. I was like, no, that's the noise when the needle's broken. That's not the normal noise. It's like they don't know. They
Raghunath,
don't know different
the
speeds.
fascination with trivial stuff from past decades, it runs so deep.
Maybe it's you know what? Let's look at that.
Let's look
Maybe
at that.
there's
Let's examine that. Lay
maybe
down
there's
for a second.
Maybe there is a strong, deep desire to connect to something
In
lasting,
the past.
something lasting, something eternal,
Oh, yeah.
and
Okay,
trying to
I'm
find
flipping it.
something that can stand the test of time. And it's definitely not a phonograph.
But the idea is to let go of that. Let
I understand. Sometimes you have to revisit the past to let go.
How many
know?
times do we have to revisit the past? in order to
Occasionally.
let go?
Occasionally. We
Uh,
desperately want something eternal in this temporary world. And we're
Yeah.
trying to find it through like vintage, retro cars. Everybody knows retro cars just break down. You know what I mean? Old houses. Look at this old house. Old houses, they're a mess. Bad
Sometimes
foundations.
the old houses are built much sturdier, though.
I know,
Yeah.
but still they have a time span. Old house, old problems.
Well, they say the wood, this is a bit of a squirrel, but I've seen, like how many the wood the lumber that you'd buy in a lumber shop used to be much stronger. Maris,
Yeah, well,
with me
it's
right there,
called
right?
original old growth lumber.
Yeah, old growth lumber. there we
Old
go.
growth lumber. It's true. They
So
don't
you
even
build
make
a house out of that, it'll stand a long time, and then you build a new house out of the weak lumber, and
Oh, somebody who's a builder put on the houses have a very short. Chief,
Like-
you know these things. Houses nowadays they have a very short lifespan before things just break apart.
all right,
We
so
just
maybe they are
create-
better off going with the retro house.
Yeah, but then you got to do all the innards over.
The electric stuff is going to be a mess.
Okay, here comes Chief is about to chime in here. You and I.
Well, where
have
are we
no
going with the
clue.
show? What's going on?
You and I have no clue how to build a toothpick house with model glue.
We got the chief. Chief's going to tell us.
Yeah,
What's going
it's like there's one squirrel on the show, Kaustubha. If you squirrel, this whole thing is going right off the
That's
cliff.
true. So true. All right.
Maybe
Maybe announcements then, huh?
spin the dial. Spin some
Spin the
announcements,
dials.
please.
Join Wisdom of the Sages for our spiritual pilgrimage to sacred India, October 17th through October 31st.
All right.
We're exploring the holy cities of Jodhpur, Udaipur, Nathwar, Rishikesh, Haridwar, and Govardhan Vrindavan. Check out all the details at raghunath.yoga.
They're gonna have to make a
Um,
quick move if they want to do that, right? They're gonna have to like
Yeah.
start.
I'm about to stop, pull that announcement. Yeah,
Alright.
but I'm excited to go to India again. There's something really, I can't describe it.
All right, so we
India?
got some news from the chief. He said the rings on the lumber are closer together in the old wood, so it's much stronger.
Yeah,
Rings in the lumber. What do you mean,
Interesting.
yeah, you didn't know that.
I just brought
Oh,
it up
yeah.
like
Rings,
2 minutes ago.
rings.
That's exactly what I brought up. Exactly that point.
I'm so much more of a wood person than you.
You like to think so.
I am.
All right. All right, Raghu. All right.
All right, here's our nugget
You
today.
you win that one. If you if you need that, you can take it. Okay, you're more of a wood person.
Here's here's our
got a
nugget
nugget?
today.
All right, who's it from?
You're gonna kill me, but I know this name, but I don't know who he
Really?
is. I can't name any songs he did, and I can't name what band he was in.
Brian Eno.
Brian Eno.
I mean,
Who
he was in King Crimson, I believe, but he's really
Yeah.
known more as a producer than he is as a musician. Like
Yeah.
so many
He got
huge.
famous.
Yeah, he got famous. Yeah, he's been very famous for a very long time.
What? All right, name one thing he produced.
He produced U2, he produced Coldplay,
Okay.
he produced tons.
really?
Like there's a huge list of people that
I didn't know he produced modern contemporary bands.
Oh yeah.
Are
Yeah.
they
David
contemporary?
Bowie, Roxy
That was
Music.
around like 30 years ago.
Yeah, he's huge. He's
The 90s are contemporary.
if you had
for
to
me.
name a producer, he might be the first name that comes up. Like he's,
Really?
you know,
Okay.
he's,
Roxy Music, that's right.
yeah, if you go back to David Bowie, you got Roxy Music,
Oh wow. That's
and
pretty
so
nice.
many others.
Okay.
Okay, so what does he have to say? Now here's a very creative mind speaking, right?
Yeah. Musicians are not ordinary.
And the
I'll say
producer in
that myself as
particular.
a musician.
I mean, the producer is the guy that's like helping to bring the creativity out of the musician commonly, you know? So it's like they really have insights into creativity in general. Right?
The creative producer has insights to creativity. Thank you for that.
You see, he's in a mood today, this guy. He's really. That's good.
Okay, here's what Brian Ego says. I want to rethink surrender as an active verb.
Yeah.
What
Think
does it
about
mean?
it, right?
Instead of like rolling over and playing dead.
Instead of a passive verb, right? There's active verbs, and then there's an active verb would be like something that you do, and then like a passive verb would be like something that's done to you, right?
Okay.
And so he's saying when we think of the word surrender, and you bring this up on the show commonly, Raghunath, right? When we hear surrender, the military context of it, or
Yeah, throw your hands up, face on the ground, get on your knees,
yeah,
not reach towards anything. It's like SWAT team.
being overpowered.
It doesn't seem like,
it.
oh, loving surrender to God. God's not like, get on your knees, stick your face in the earth.
Well, I had another quote from him, another nugget where he's talking about surrender, and I think it'll give it more context of what he's speaking about.
Yeah.
1 second.
You got more? You're like double nuggeting me?
Double nugget.
Like, I know you got one nugget, but I've got two nuggets.
I've got so many, Raghunath. Here we go. He says,
You're like a nugget tree.
okay, control and surrender have to be kept in balance.
Control and surrender.
He says that's what surfers do. They take control of the situation, then they're carried, then they take control. So he's saying like a surfer is a combination of asserting yourself and then surrendering to the wave and then asserting yourself again, right? He says, in the last few years, we've become incredibly adept technically. We've treasured the controlling part of ourselves and neglected the surrendering part. And that's kind of, when we get to the spiritual context, that letting go, what is surrender? It's like letting go of our resistance to something, right? Ceasing to resist. You with me, Raghu?
Yeah, I'm thinking deeply right now.
Okay.
You think I'm spaced out, but I'm actually
No,
thinking.
no, I didn't. I said I could see that you're thinking. Resistance means I'm trying to preserve something,
Yeah.
and surrender is kind of like the reality sets in that this can't be preserved. I don't have the power to preserve this. My ability to control this situation or circumstance has come to its end, or will come to its end, and I'm going to cease to resist, and I'm going to accept. And so Brian Eno's saying that although it sounds like passive, like, oh, something happened and there's nothing I could do and I had to surrender, he's saying we can very consciously choose that I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing right now. Right? At this point I'm going to proactively or actively choose.
Mm.
That's where it becomes active, right? I'm going to actively make a choice.
Mm.
That I'm going to surrender here. And surrender comes in different like we're mentioning the military context, but there's the romantic context, which is a positive kind of surrender, right?
Sure.
I was trying to resist someone, but then in the end, I just saw just how special and wonderful they are, and I had to surrender. Or in the artistic sense, which I think Brian Eno is speaking in, I think when it comes to creativity, we may try to force something. We may try to, like I say, it's a songwriter or a novelist or something like that. They have an idea. They want that make that idea manifest. They're trying it this way. They're trying it that way. They've become frustrated, and then they surrender. Maybe I need to receive something. Maybe I need to become more receptive before I can engage again. And then in the spiritual context, there's surrender, and especially when we speak of surrender in the spiritual context, so often we're talking about surrendering. There's surrendering to fate. That's definitely there. There's also like the surrendering of the ego, right? I've been trying to preserve a sense of identity that is ultimately untrue. And the material energy is working against that sense of identity. It's going to, I like to think of myself as young and attractive and influential and I'm seeing that I'm getting old and I'm not so attractive and I'm not so strong and I'm not, and letting go of that, or so many other ways that the ego may be revealed, as not preservable,
Mm.
and then you cease to try to do that, and it opens up the whole world for you to receive something more real and more valuable and more deep and satisfying.
I've been coming across this in different devotees' lives who've got into bhakti and have sort of, for some reason or another, like sort of stepped away from it.
Yeah.
But you could just tell they still have such a taste for bhakti.
Yeah.
And the analogy that I always bring up to them is that, in the days of, big sport fishing where they catch a marlin or a tuna or something like that, and the fisherman just lets out after the hook is set, they let the line out, and they let the fish think it's free, but eventually the fish gets
Runs out of energy.
exhausted. It gets exhausted, and then they can reel it in. You can't
Cease,
reel it
and
in
then it
while it's
ceases to
fighting.
resist. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the beautiful thing is a lot of us, even here on the show, we had some taste for spiritual life. It could have been a kirtan. It could have been a plate of prasad. It could have been that we lived in an ashram. It could have been that some devotee was just kind to us. And then something got lodged in our hearts, some feeling that we've never had, something that was not a financial, like I got to this level. It wasn't a material high. And we've all had some material high in our life. It was above any sensual high. Matter of fact, we could have no money and nothing sensual, but we experienced some type of connectedness, and that stayed within our heart and within our mind. And we're thinking, well, that was something, but I have these dreams, and we just go out in the material world to try to fulfill the dreams, and we become exhausted with the material world. And sometimes Krishna just lets us run. Say, okay, you want the material world? You go, you get that material world. But you should understand, and then Krishna's knowledge stays with you, which
Right.
is, this is all temporary. You should understand this is temporary. You do have an identity. There is nothing solid in this world. There is trauma here. You should understand there is trauma. Don't try to find the eternal world in a temporary world. And when that dream of romanticism like cracks, that eggshell cracks, and you just sort of like, then either we just give up and become like angry at the material world, or we give up and actively find our love that's always been there, and we actively swim back to Krishna and rush back to Krishna. And Krishna's waiting for us, but he wants us to be exhausted first. He wants us to be exhausted with the material world.
Yeah, if we don't come to that, then
Right.
yeah, we have to, especially those egoic conceptions, it's that's where we separate ourselves. We're trying to take the role of Krishna. We have to surrender and say, you're the attractive one, Krishna. I let go. We might think of ourselves like, for instance, like today, I had to let go of the idea that I'm a wood guy.
You gotta let go. Sometimes you gotta let go of that. If you
talk to
find a
myself,
superior
no,
wood
Raghunath's
guy,
the wood guy.
if you find a superior wood guy, you just gotta back off. Okay, this guy knows trees.
What do I know about wood? Nothing.
Have you ever split wood? Nah.
Raghunath,
Stacked wood? Nah. Pruned?
Put it in the truck, back of the pickup truck. Look at how much wood you got around your neck, Raghunath. You're just a wood guy.
I'm a wood guy. It's okay. You can be the number 2 wood guy on the show. It's okay.
All right.
But yeah, we have false conceptions and they get broken down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just one of the common primary kind of ideas in spirituality, whatever tradition it is, right? And that also comes with aging commonly, where you kind of let go, you stop resisting, you stop trying to prop up this false presentation of who you are, even in your own mind, and you become free. And once you become free like that, then that's where you become that beautiful person, right? That's where like the beauty of the soul begins to shine through someone, and they become saints, sadhus, like very special people.
If you can keep that identity, that bio, I'm a tiny spirit soul.
Yeah.
I own nothing. I possess nothing of this world. I'm here for a few days only. I'm here to give some love. If you can keep that as your identity, you'll protect yourself from a lot of the false solids. We hold on to ropes that aren't tied to anything.
Yeah.
Or banisters that are weak. Put your hand, or climb ladders that are not properly situated. We try to find foundations in a crumbling world. So the only thing is that subtle thing of, I'm a tiny spirit soul. I don't own anything of this world. I'm here for a few days, and I can give some love while I'm here. And that keeps you actually. It's a nice framework to move forward.
That right there, like going back to this like Brian Eno thing about the controlling and then the surrendering, in other words, the active passive kind of thing. You can't really love, when you have this false egoic conception. It's kind of counter to it, that I want to be this. The egoic conception is like, let me create a false me that is the center, and which is contrary, to love, which is like, I'm the giver. I'm the giver. Love is always about giving, and you receive as almost like a afterthought or something like that. It comes, but you don't have to think about it, because when you're in love, you're thinking of giving. When you're in that false ego, the whole thing is propped up for the purpose of receiving. And it never works. So you can't have that active love until you let go of the ego. All right, Rogan. Well, we're going to hear about the elephant Gajendra. He's kind of doing what you're saying. In his previous life, he was a devotee king, right? We're going to hear about that.
I got the whole story in the comic book.
It's all right there in the comic book.
Yeah, it gives a much better backstory than in the Bhagavatam of the king.
There you go.
This was the one where he didn't garland Indra or something like that, or Indra gave him a garland, and he put the garland on the elephant, and the elephant threw it to the ground. I'm gonna get you the comic book.
But let's get the background story.
All right, you talk a little. I'm gonna look for a comic book.
Oh no, you don't have to do it right now.
Let me look for it at least, Raghu. You come back on the show. Okay.
But I was gonna
He's
say
gonna come back on the show, and I'll look for it.
You're gonna come back on the show.
Look for
Is it in this?
Tales of Vishnu. Tales of Vishnu.
There you go. But what I was gonna say is that we're hearing about what you were talking about, like the fish running, like it's free, but it's really wearing out. he was a
Oh,
king
he's
in his
also
previous life.
hooked. He's also hooked.
He's hooked. Yeah, even as an elephant, he's still hooked. Even though he took a new birth, he's still got that Vishnu hook in him.
Yeah, Vishnu's
But he's
got,
running.
and that Vishnu hook lasts for lifetimes. Oh,
Okay, but
here we
yeah.
go. Here we
Look
go.
at that. And so in his next life, he's the king of the elephants, and we're hearing about 20 or so verses about just how perfect his world is. You know, it's beautiful there. It couldn't be more picturesque. He's surrounded by adoring loved ones. In full recreation mode, and he's a full-on rock star. It's like he's practically like intoxicated by the beautiful circumstances, and then things start to change, and he can't control it anymore, and he goes back. That hook is in him, and he realizes really there's nothing to do but to surrender. But he does it actively, right? He doesn't do it bitterly. He does it, he finds in his heart that dormant love for God that's just been lying there kind of asleep, and the circumstances kind of woke it up in him.
So the backstory, according to sacred literature,
With
Amar Chitraka,
yeah. Well, I wonder where they got it from. And maybe some piranha. I wouldn't be
some
surprised.
piranha.
It's probably some piranha.
There's some piranha, yeah. But the backstory was he was actually a very, very illustrious king, and there was some little bit of perfection I think they didn't hit, so he had to take this birth. So he actually gave up the kingdom.
Spiritual perfection you're talking about.
Spiritual perfection, yeah. So he gave up the kingdom. He was really respected. They begged him not to leave. He's like, no, I'm getting old. It's time to retire.
Okay.
And he was sitting in meditation.
All right.
Indradyumna then retired to Kulachala Mountains, where he built a cottage for himself, observing the vow of silence. He sat with his mind dwelling upon Lord Vishnu.
Nice.
One day, the sage came. So Agastya Muni came with his disciple.
Great sage comes along.
We have come to your. So all these sages have come to his little cottage, and instead of greeting them, he's just sitting there focused on Lord Vishnu.
Oh, it's like a Maharaj Pariksit.
Yes, it's very similar.
Thing.
And then and then Agastya cursed him. He said, "Your arrogance shall not go unpunished."
So he was in deep meditation. He failed to greet the sages properly.
Yeah, and so and whatever it is, and you could imagine a king.
Oh,
he's done so much, but he might have a little bit of arrogance. And so, okay, you can't get purified now. Perhaps you're going to have to take this birth as like an alpha elephant. And then he got purified. He went through this thing where in order to go back and to reconnect, you got every little speck of dust out of your consciousness. And so you have to take this one birth.
I'm going to triple nugget you, Raghu.
Oh, okay. You're like
so therefore he takes birth as a
volcano of nuggets today.
Therefore he takes birth as an elephant and finds himself in the precarious situation that we should get to today, where a crocodile is attached to his leg.
Yeah.
Globbed on there. Was that the word? Glommed. Not globbed. Glommed. Yeah. The C.S. Lewis. Everyone has noticed how hard it is to turn our thoughts to God when everything is going well with us. While what we call our own life remains agreeable. That he put that in quotes, our own life, right? Because he's saying in truth, our life is God's life, right? While what we call our own life remains agreeable, we will not surrender. We will not surrender it to him. What then can God do in our interests but make our own life less agreeable to us and take away the plausible sources of false happiness?
Very interesting.
Right. So that's what's going to happen to our elephant friend, Gajendra.
Okay, this is a great story.
Ready?
Rayanam namaskrityanam chaivanarottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tatu jayam mudiraya. Before we start in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is ever means the conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu necham bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki, by regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees. All that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 2, text 9 to 13.
What? Text 9 to 13? Oh, I see.
Yeah,
So,
so
big
this is-
chunk of text.
So this is not happening on the Earth planet. This is happening in a heaven.
Yeah. We've been hearing a bunch of verses just talking about how beautiful it is there.
Yeah.
The beautiful trees, so many different varieties, beautiful birds. It's on the bank of the ocean of milk. There's all kind of gems all over the place.
Mm.
There's apsaras singing and kanars and gandharvas and there's dancing going on. It's like a paradise.
It's like a paradise
And it's going to continue. We're going to hear more about it.
until a crocodile shows up, and then it's going to be like hell.
Yeah.
Okay. In the valley of Trikuta Mountain, there was a garden called
Ritumat.
Ritumat. The gardeners belonged to the great devotee Varuna and was a sporting place for damsels of the demigods. Flowers and fruits grew there in all seasons. Among them were mandaras, parijatas, patalas, ashokas, champaks, kutas, pialas, panasas, mangoes, amaratakas, kramukas, and coconut trees, date trees, and pomegranates. Isn't it interesting that some of the trees on this planet could be from other planets?
Yeah, they're on different planets.
Isn't that interesting?
It is. Mr. Botany, Mr. Tree Guy, Mr. Wood.
I'm Mr. Wood. You tried to come off like Mr. Wood today. Oh, Mr.
I
Wood.
didn't at all, Raghunath. You see,
did
that's
too.
you see. I just brought up one point.
No,
and
you were like, "Oh,
your
I know this.
identity
I-
as
I
Mr.
talk about
Wood
this all
got
the time. You
challenged
don't
by
talk
it
about
somehow.
this.
I had no idea that was in you, and it was going to trigger that in you. I was not trying to come off.
Mr. Wood.
I promise you, I was not
Mr.
trying to
Wood
come off
around
as
me.
Mr. Tree Guy. I really wasn't.
That's old growth wood. I say, you don't know old growth wood.
All right.
The rings were close. Okay.
I offer it to you, Raghunath. You
There-
are Mr. Tree. You are the wood
Okay.
person.
There were madukas, palm trees, tamals, asanas, Arjuna trees,
Oh yeah.
aristas, surudarus, grapes, sugarcane, bananas, jambu.
Did you script a bunch of trees?
Yeah, there's a lot of trees, okay? A
Banyans,
bunch of names that you've
sandwich
never heard
trees.
of. The
Okay.
interesting thing is this. It's interesting how we are like, so we go by Latin names. Like all of a sudden, like Latin claims that they know everything. Everyone in the
Now
Western
he's upset
culture.
with the.
Well, I'm sick of that. Everything has to be the Latin name. Well, what is that? Guess what? There's even older cultures than Latin. We can name trees too.
That's right, Latin people. Get off Raghu's lawn. Let's go.
We're just gonna use the Sanskrit names.
Yeah.
Amalakis.
Sugarcane, bananas. They're English ones here, Raghunath.
Like if you put Amalakis in Wikipedia, you'll give a Latin name.
No, it's disgusting.
In that garden, there was a very large lake filled with shining golden lotus flowers. I want everyone to picture this.
Oh,
Picture a beautiful, crystal clear Bosnian lake
okay.
with golden lotus flowers and the flowers known as kumuda, kalara. Just picture beautiful flowers.
Hello.
You're not going to know what that is. Which added excellent beauty to the mountain. Imagine gorgeous, the most gorgeous flowers
Imagine how-
growing around and on this lake.
How inviting that lake was, right?
Yeah. There was also bilva, kapita, jambira, balataka trees. Intoxicated bumblebees drank honey and hummed with the chirping of the birds, whose songs were very melodious. The lake was
We couldn't hear
cracked.
any
It
of
was-
that.
You didn't hear any of that
Didn't make it through the
whistling?
mic. The mic cut it off.
The lake was crowded with swans, carnivus, chakravakas, cranes, and flocks of water chickens.
Good old water chickens.
Water chickens. I love that.
That would be a
Well,
good
that-
name for a band. We're water chickens.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is like it's also some Latin bird name, water chicken. You know what I mean?
We're
Then-
calling them water chickens, and
We're calling
they're
them
just
water
gonna have to
chickens.
deal
Some
with it.
beautiful Sanskrit name. We'll just call it a water chicken. It sort of looks like a chicken.
Water chicken.
Yuhas, Koyastis, and other murmuring birds. Because of the agitating movements of the fish and the tortoises, the water was decorated with pollen that had fallen from the lotus flowers. All right. So the idea is we have a very beautiful scene going on. The lake was surrounded by more
Kadamba
trees and other
flowers.
languages that you've never heard of and that are beautiful.
There's about like 20 of them listed.
20 more. The banks were also abundantly adorned. It's just not growing. Yeah. With varieties of trees that yielded flowers and fruits in all seasons. Thus, the entire mountain stood gloriously decorated.
All right. It's perfect. He's in paradise.
It's in paradise. Right? Sometimes we get to these places in our life where, like, it doesn't get better than this. These photos on Instagram of a woman's feet and an ocean and a beach. And, like, here I am.
There you go.
Tahiti, it doesn't get better than this, right? So here we are in Tahiti, or something like better than Tahiti. The leader of the elephants, right? That's the alpha elephant, who lived in
Gajendra.
the forest of the mountain Trikuta, once wandered towards the lake with his female elephants.
He's like I said, he's a rock star, right?
He's a rock star.
He's got like a lot of female elephants with him, a lot of wives, right?
There are pecking orders in the animal kingdom, truthfully in the human kingdom as well.
Raghunath, the animal guy. Let
Well,
me tell
this
you a little bit
morning,
about pecking
you know
orders.
why? Because we have these birds on the farm, and we have different
Pecking orders.
species of birds.
Yeah.
And one species is that's going to be the head birds. They're still young. So not even the roosters, the hens of the chickens, they peck at these birds. This morning I was noticing, I was like, so the hens are trying to establish their authority over the guinea fowl. But when the guinea fowl get older, they're going to take full control. And so what happens is there's just pecking orders in every society, just like a pack of dogs. There's a head dog, the top dog.
Where do
That's
the
what they
water
do.
chickens fall?
Water chickens are probably low on the pecking totem pole. But it's like we try to like do these things like absolutely no bullying. We try to get rid of the pecking order in like high schools nowadays. But when we grew up, there was pecking orders. Wasn't
There's
there?
always going to be some pecking order.
You know what? Even maybe that's the teacher being throwing out the pecking order. You're not going to get rid of it. There's people who are just more clever, more smart, more funny, more sexy, more. It's just like there are orders in life. It's just when
And he's at the top. It appears.
and
right?
this elephant is at the top. So all the other elephant and the elephants are. I mean, everybody's sort of scared of the elephant, as far as like the
Very
animals
powerful.
in the forest. Sure, they can wreck stuff. They could flip over cars, stomp, destroy villages. We don't think
Sounds
about it
like
because we don't
someone's
have
caught
elephants
a
around.
few Instagram reels like that.
I got a lot of Instagram reels. I mean, you and me were friends before Instagram. You know, I used to look this stuff up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Now it's all over Instagram, but back then I'd have to really search these things out.
Elephants
attacks.
running mad.
Yeah, mad elephant attacks. That was a common search for me.
Okay, let's see what's happening with him now.
Okay, so anyway, this leader of the elephants, he lived in the forest of Trikuta Mountain. He once wandered towards that beautiful lake with the female elephants.
Perfect.
And of course, he's crushing things. Every time he walks, he crushes stuff. He broke many plants and creepers and thickets and trees,
He's
not
so
caring for their piercing thorns, right?
he's so powerful and carefree.
And imagine the feeling that you have when you're at the very top and everybody fears you, everybody respects you. So what is that in our human society? You're at the top of your game in music, in art, and you're the head of a big company. You have the prime position. Your company's moving here and they elected you to be the leader, the CEO. You've taken up that position, or you're the sexiest or the most handsome or the most ripped or gold medaled. we have a position, and maybe none of us have got that, but if we are the alpha of our field, imagine what it must be like when so many people are looking up to us, and we're in that position where we're fearless, we feel powerful, we feel strong. There's only one problem with that, and it's temporary. So if I get too attached to that position, which is not my real bio, right? That's how we started this thing. What's your real bio? My real bio is that I'm a tiny piece of something bigger. I'm a pure spirit soul, but I'm a tiny, tiny little speck of something much bigger.
Yeah.
But now when I by gift of karma and good fortune, I get some body that makes me look strong and ripped and gorgeous or famous or knowledgeable or very wealthy. I link onto that as my identity. And then the sad thing is it comes crumbling down because there's no safety in the material world. And so this is about to happen to our beautiful Gajendra. Now, he was a great king. So what's the body he gets? A great king of an elephant.
Power
He becomes
elephant.
the king. He becomes like the alpha elephant after becoming like an alpha king. And he had to burn a little bit more karma.
All right.
Ever wonder what karma you're going to have to burn? I always think about that. I was like,
Well, you think a lot about burning because you're a wood guy.
Yeah, very funny. But I think like there's probably some like residue of like coolness. I think I'm cool or sexy. Oh, you
all got to burn.
Sexy? You think you're sexy? You get to be a type of low-born bird. Because birds like sex. Birds like mate. Something like 59 times. Can you Google that up? How many times do birds have sex a day?
Different birds are different, Raghu.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, look up a vulture because
A pigeon.
I'm not the most good-looking guy. Look up
Pigeon.
pigeons.
I don't think vultures are nearly as active.
You know, like how do you make that statement? I don't think birds are sexually active.
What, vultures? You think vultures? Just look at them. They just sit around doing nothing all day.
Pigeons mate several. Come on.
During the breeding season.
Yeah, pigeons. Now, how about vultures?
All right, how often do vultures mate? Anyway, the point
it's all
is
on the line right now. Either I'm exposed or you're exposed.
Oh, it seems like it's
vultures mate once every 7 years.
Oh, okay. My point is, if I have some things about my virility as a male, even though I'm not a male, isn't that crazy? I'm not a male. I'm a pure spirit soul. But to the degree that I think I'm a sexy male, that's a problem. I got to burn that off. And so, okay, you think you're a sexy being? We're going to give you a body that has sex much more than you can even have sex with your body. We're going to give you the body of a vulture or a parakeet. Oh, Mr. Beauty, you're going to be a beautiful bird. Now, mate.
Vultures aren't beautiful.
Vultures are monogamous. Pairs are believed to mate for life.
Okay, forget it. I'll be a parakeet. How about that? They're monogamous. So maybe like people who are sort of in the mode of ignorance with their diet, but sort of like good people that stay married to one couple, they would get birth as vultures, perhaps. Okay. You got news on parakeets? They're probably always having sex.
Yeah, I think they do.
Okay. Let's
get back to the story here. Let's get back to this.
Anyway, yeah, I could see that. Anyway, and so this is what happened to the king. He had to take birth as a macho elephant. Simply by the leader of the elephants. Simply by catching the scent of that elephant. All other elephants, the tigers, and the ferocious animals, such as lions, rhinoceroses, even serpents, and black and white sharabas. How are those? Fled in fear. Yeah. Yes. The chamari deer also fled. So the elephant comes to town, everything is moving away.
Yeah.
What to speak of a pack of elephants?
Okay.
By the mercy of this elephant, animals like foxes, wolves, buffaloes, bears, boars, gopuchas, porcupines, monkeys, rabbits, the other deer, and many other small animals loitered everywhere else in the forest. They were not afraid of him. I don't get that.
By the mercy of this elephant. Oh, this elephant is chasing away the other predators. So these animals.
Oh, I get it. I get it. The
Or
smaller
feels,
animals
yeah.
surrounded by herds of other elephants, including females, followed. See, it wasn't just females; it was other male elephants. They just weren't as strong. You gotta fight for that number one spot.
Okay.
And so eventually they just say, okay, you're the guy.
We get it. There's a pecking order.
I just think it's
Jane
fascinating.
Goodall over here.
Surrounded by the
David
herds.
Attenborough.
Surrounded by the herd's other elephants, including females, and followed by the young ones. Gajapati, right? That's the father of all the Gajas.
Okay, that opens.
Gajapati, the leader of the elephants, made Trikuta Mountain tremble all around because of the weight of his body. He was perspiring. Liquor dripped from his mouth. What the heck does that mean?
You know, they can eat fruits that are fermented or what. He's just like
fermented fruits. I wonder if animals like alcohol, like fruits that have
apparently this elephant did.
Okay. And his vision was overwhelmed by intoxication. He was being served by bumblebees who drank honey, and from a distance he could smell the dust of the lotus flowers, which was carried from the lake by the breeze. Thus, surrounded by his associates who were afflicted by thirst, he soon arrived at the bank of the lake. So again, we're in this position. It's a story of an elephant. See yourself in a position, if you are or if you ever have been in a place where you are the top dog, you're number one, your environment is breathtaking, everybody's looking up to you, you have all facility. It seems like there is nothing in your life but stability, and all your desires are at the tips of your fingertips. If you can remember a time in your life, or if your life is like that now, just imagine that feeling of power in this material world.
Whew. That's where he's at right now.
That's where he's at. It's things are looking up for Gajendra.
It's looking good right now. Okay.
The king of the elephants entered the lake, bathed thoroughly, and was relieved of his fatigue.
It's so satisfying.
Right? You know, for a band, like when would be the prime of like the Rolling Stones? What album?
The Stones?
When you're untouchable. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. Probably around the late 60s and early 70s. They're at their prime,
Oh, really? That far?
fingers and
Okay. Or Bob Dylan, like 1969 or something like that. Because you have other later records that weren't his,
as big.
You got to serve somebody. It was big, but not as big.
Not
You know
as
what I mean?
60s. Yeah.
Yeah. This is 78 Bob Dylan was not 69 Bob Dylan.
Okay.
So this is prime of his life. Everything is prime right now. So imagine your time in your life, people, the time where you were the most attractive, where you're the most influential. Feel that intoxication. And here we go. What?
No, you're walking us through a meditation.
I'm walking us through a meditation, yeah. The king of the elephants entered the lake, bathed thoroughly, and was relieved of his fatigue. Then, with the aid of his trunk, he drank cold, clear, nectarian water, which was mixed with the dust of lotus flowers and water lilies until he was fully satisfied. Are you acting that out?
A little bit. It's delicious water because
right? No one else is drinking. They're all like, "It's you first." You know, even with our cats, it's like the cats, like one cat always is allowed to eat first. The other one backs off and waits. Like a human being who lacks spiritual knowledge and is too attached to the members of his family. Yeah. This is it again. You hear this. I tell you, it's almost disheartening for people who are trying to have a good family. It's like, ow, okay. We're too attached to members of their own family.
Attachment is making it worse,
Yeah. The elephant, being illusioned by the external energy of Krishna, had his wives and children bathe and drink in the water.
Everybody come in.
Everybody come in. I'm allowing you. Indeed, he raised water from the lake with his trunk and sprayed it over them. Because sometimes, right? He did not mind the hard labor involved in this endeavor, right? Sucking it up, blowing water, sort of sporting with his friends.
Yeah, we'll
Animals
work hard
play.
to support the family if we feel like we're deriving deep enjoyment from it, right?
Sure. By the arrangement of providence, O king, a strong crocodile was angry at the elephant and attacked the elephant's leg in the water.
Oh,
The elephant was certainly strong, and he tried his best to get free from his danger sent by providence.
okay.
You know who the alligator's got a backstory too. Right? The alligator was like hoo hoo or ha ha. Prabhupada, do you know this? Prabhupada said in one of the purports.
Trying to make me laugh over here.
Yeah, yep. No, that was hoo hoo and ha ha were these two demigods. They got one got cursed. I can't remember which one. Might have been
Right,
hoo hoo. Got cursed to be this to leave
Crocodile.
yeah. Thereafter, seeing Gajendra in that grave condition, his wives felt very, very sorry and began to cry.
No, no.
Yeah, of course.
It all turned on a dime, Raghu.
That's what the material world does, doesn't it?
Mm.
Things are looking good, things are looking big, and the material world can turn on a dime, like a hairpin turn.
He was feeling invulnerable, and in an instant, his vulnerability was revealed.
You know what else I follow? Maritime disasters, supercar fails.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing. You're driving, like supercar fails is like they get together with other supercars.
I don't even know what a supercar is. What is a supercar?
It's sort of like these super high-end cars, like
Like custom made with special engines and things
yeah,
like that.
no, like for high-end sports cars. Like
You can just
very
go and buy
high-end.
like a Ferrari. It's a supercar.
Like Ferraris, yeah.
Okay.
And they'll do something like, pull out of a driveway or something and not realize how to control the speed. And they'll just slam into, a light post or something like that, or
Okay.
slam. And it's just like, you've got everything. You're at the top of your game. You're driving a Ferrari, and then
Boom.
a Volkswagen comes out of nowhere and T-bones you.
Mm.
That's what I'm talking about. Everything's going great. Everything's looking great. You're at the top of your game. You're cruising down the road, and a Volkswagen T-bones you. Or in maritime disasters, you're like enjoying on like your sports fishing boat. Everything's beautiful. And beautiful ladies are laying out in bikinis in the front hull of the boat, and something like just a rogue wave comes out of nowhere. Instantly, everything goes from being you're at the top of the game to something tragic is happening. The Titanic. The Titanic is that story.
The Titanic is exactly
You're
that.
on the boat that could not be sunk. And what happens?
Invincible.
It gets
sinks.
sunk. Yeah. Like we like to do these things. It will never be sunk. Like we like these ideas of invincible things. Do you remember when everyone had vinyl records and then the CD came out and they were like, we've created this new thing. It will never scratch. It's called a CD or compact disc. And guess what? They scratched. They scratched. They skipped. They bumped.
And they had lower quality sound.
Lower quality sound. They tried to sell them to us as it's indestructible. You can do, and that's how they pitched it. And very soon we realized it wasn't like that.
They were wrong.
They were wrong.
Raghunath, just as you examine the animals in nature and draw lessons from them.
Yeah, I do.
Once I learned a lesson that's speaking right to this by examining people. Right.
You were just like sitting on a bench, park bench, just like
no. I was in a
people watching.
I was in
cafe.
Yankee Stadium parking lot actually.
Just meandering around.
No, I was selling books there because it's a Pink Floyd concert. Right?
Like wandering.
But Pink Floyd went on tour back in it must have been like in the mid '90s, and it was like the first time they'd gone on tour like forever, and people were psyched up. It was like this was a big thing. Pink Floyd's playing their first concert in New York and forever, and they're selling out Yankee Stadium. It was a big thing, and this car came in. It had Jersey plates on it, and it was like, I think it was like it might have been like one of those Jeeps without the top on, and they're blasting Pink Floyd music, and there's a bunch of young happy kids in there, just like thrilled, like this is it, we're here, it's Pink Floyd, we got the Pink Floyd, we got the car, we got the drugs.
Something tragic happened. What happened?
Well, no, so they're pulling into the parking lot like we've arrived, they're just so psyched, and the music's blasting, and they're just
this is gonna get ugly quick, isn't it? That story.
And they drove the car right into like one of the beams, like those steel girder beams.
Yep.
directly into it, and they hit it at just the right way.
The car split in half.
No, but like when they hit it, instantly, like the oil pan
Oh,
just
no.
dropped, and just like all the oil just was just like all of it. They just wiped the thing out right there, and then in an instant they realized we're not going to be able to go to this concert. We're stuck in the South Bronx. Like,
Stuck in the South Bronx. All the cars leave. You're there alone with your car.
Yeah, and you could just see like the mood of we are enjoying on the highest level we've enjoyed before, and then on a dime, life is just miserable right now. It flips like that. So the wise person is realizing I may as well just surrender right up front. I don't need to pose. I can find my happiness, my satisfaction, my security, my well-being by reconnecting with that source of everything. And if I surrender right now, I just save myself so much trouble.
Material world's just so painful.
Oh, it's painful.
You know what else is one of those things, the highest things become the lowest.
Yeah.
Ever see those guys who are like, I'm gonna do a public proposal to my girlfriend.
Oh,
and they'll do it
that's
like
sad.
at like whatever
Baseball game or something.
a baseball game, on a basketball game with a big screen, and they tell the stadium, and they're actually on the screen in the stadium, will you be my wife? And gets down on one knee, and she's like, how dare you do this to me now? How dare and he gets rejected in front of 40,000 people. You went from the highest, most precious moment of your life to like the worst moment of your life in a moment. You really got to check ahead. You really got to make sure 100% she's going to before you
put her in a very awkward position.
Very awkward position now. She'll never forget that. Anyway.
Now, Vibba's saying, don't be dissing the boogie down the South Bronx. I'm not dissing the South Bronx.
No, I am.
But it was a jungle, man. You forget
it was a jungle back then.
It was.
Ever tell you the time that me and Paramananda and Jordan from Revelation, we're coming back from the greatest. This fits the story right now. It's not even a squirrel.
There you go.
At the greatest time, we were at the Rock Hotel, saw incredible, 7 Seconds Youth Brigade, and we're driving back to Connecticut, and we broke down Jordan's BMW broke down on the Triborough Bridge in the South Bronx. And all they do to you, well, we can tow it to the other side, and we didn't have AAA. So we just left it there. They showed it to the South Bronx side of the train, and we'll just come back and get it tomorrow, and we'll figure it out. It's 3 a.m. Let's just go home. So we got in the subway, went to my brother's house in Queens, came back the next day. The car wasn't there. We found it in a field. There was no doors, no seats, no windshields. Everything was stripped on this car. It was like a shell of a car.
That was a given back then, right? It was
a given. The point is, you're having the best time in your life, and that can turn on a dime, and that's what Gajendra was doing, and we've all experienced it, and we hear these stories because it's going to happen, and we're preparing ourselves. Just like if I say, Kaustubha, you can go down the road, go really fast, but you got to watch out because there are some potholes. Mm-hmm. So it's good to know in advance. If I'm speeding on my motorcycle, like Yamuna Jelly's husband got in a motorcycle accident, he just hit a big pothole and got thrown. He's okay, but it's just like, if you know in advance there's some danger, it's good. We hear these stories to protect us because there's danger in the material world. Don't get too high when you're high. Understand that on the moment, and that's why when you talk to devotees and say, how are you doing? What's going on? Or say, how you doing? Devotees will say, today, I'm doing good. Because they understand we can't invest in the future. The future is not here yet. And you never know when good fortune can turn. So even when we're high, don't get too high. Even my highs are seasonal, right? Okay. It can be stormy tomorrow. It can be stormy in an hour.
That's right. In a moment. Thank you, Raghunath. Thank you. Tomorrow we'll hear about how Gajendra, when he finds himself, fate brings this circumstance, he thinks very deeply. And then he surrenders. It's going to be good.
That he gets that wake-up call.
Yeah.
And it's not random. He's been cultivating that wake-up call his whole previous life. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, look at our message board.
It's like Raghu, just focus just a little bit more on the show. We're almost done.
done. We're almost done.
No, but I'm saying its message board's
Yeah.
good today.
Mm.
Okay, go on.
Ready for
Okay, Mara, what did you learn today, Mara?
We learned something about the mating habits of pigeons versus vultures, and
Yeah.
someone
Exactly.
didn't apologize over here.
Mhm.
How the hell can you say such a?
Someone didn't apologize. I apologize
Thank you.
for your monogamous vulture friends.
All right. Actively and consciously choose surrender.
It's an active thing. It's not a weakness.
It can be an active thing.
Our ego isn't preservable.
No,
Our ego's not. Yeah, it's fragile.
no.
Yeah.
In a matter of moments, it's going to be chopped down like a old growth tree.
Liver. There he is.
Old growth tree.
Krishna's letting us run till we're materially exhausted.
That's right.
Running like a fish.
Swim.
Our real bio is I'm a tiny spirit soul here for a few days to love, and I own nothing.
There you go.
That's my bio.
Can you share your resume with us?
I'm a spirit soul.
Tiny.
Mr. Tiny. I'm a tiny spirit soul with no.
Just here for a few days.
I'm no experience in the material world
Just here
whatsoever.
for a few days. But
I'm sorry, sir. It
I got a
doesn't
lot
seem
of
like
love
you-
to
A
share.
long-term
We're
position.
looking for a long-term position. Yeah, there is no long-term position. I
You
understand.
can't invest in the future.
Don't trust tomorrow.
Swim back to Krishna.
Oh, there you go.
We're trying to find foundation in a crumbling world.
Not gonna find it.
No.
Love is always about giving.
I was
Want to hear
always
something crazy?
Sure.
So we were in a thrift shop yesterday, and we were looking at old picture frames,
Mm.
and I found an old picture frame with Gaur Nitai in it.
Really?
Lord Chaitanya.
Get
Wow.
out.
You
Sachi
didn't
was
get
like, "Look at this,"
You should have taken a picture.
and then there was another one with Radharani in it.
Really?
I kid you not.
Did you get them?
Why didn't
No,
you
I
get
didn't.
them?
I don't like the
They
frame.
appeared to you.
Oh.
I don't like the frame.
I don't-
Yeah. Why didn't I get it?
They appeared to you.
$1.
It was like
How
a
much
dollar.
was it? Yeah.
Well, it wasn't a great picture or a frame. It was just sort of like.
All right.
But
Maybe
I was.
left it there for
I
the
just
next
looked at my
person.
daughter and said, "Someone's in Maya."
They-
Someone's
They wanted
in
to
Maya.
get her.
They're like, I'm just gonna give all my altar pictures to
Right.
Mm.
the restore. Okay,
All right. The material world can turn on a dime.
On a dime.
on a dime.
We're driving a supercar about to get T-boned.
Oh,
I love that word, T-boned.
T-bone.
You got T-boned. Oh my-
It's good to know about the potholes.
yeah,
And,
Jelly's husband, we love you.
and let go of your ego as the wood guy.
Yeah.
Let it go. I'm not just let it go.
Let go.
I let it go. You can let it go too. Even though you're far more of a wood guy than I am.
Well, I'm gonna have to let go of that one day, but for now, the wood needs me.
All right. Well, I guess the birds need me.
Found a stash of chicken in the wood yesterday.
Water chicken?
Yeah, we gotta go back and get it.
We gotta go get our wild mushrooms.
Why don't you check to see if any of your chickens are water chickens? Just like bring
Google
them out
up
to
water
the...
chicken.
I
Google
was
up.
actually, I was looking at
There
that
was already on
earlier.
water chicken.
That was before the birds meeting.
Viva G, thank you. I love when people write. Thanks everybody for joining us. Hey, become a supporting member. You can do it. Go to wisdomsages.com if you like what we're doing. If you like this contribution, you can contribute to help this boat float. And we have various transcendental news for you and important mundane information, such as the common, here's the Latin name, Gallinula chloropus, also known as the water hen or swamp chicken.
That's even better.
Is a bird species in the rail family. It is distributed across many parts of the old world, from Africa to Europe and Asia. All right, I thought that was just sort of like a made-up, one of Prabhupada's Sanskrit translators. Now let's just call it a water chicken. We can't
Or
figure this
swamp
one out.
chickens.
It was actually a swamp chicken.